speaker today. I want you all to know it's not to brag, it's not to boast, but it's to let you all know what's possible for you. And a lot of us have not seen people in person who look like us that have these kinds of scores. So it's definitely not to be bragging about it, but our first speaker did participate in our ACT prep class, and I know she doesn't mind us saying. She went from a 28 in December to a 34 in March by doing the ACT prep offered here at Progressive Baptist Church. You can give her a hand for that. That 34 also included a perfect 36 in the science prep of the ACT. So at this time, I'd like to introduce to you Lafayette High School senior, Sister Elena Butler.
Hey y'all. So she already said about when the class is or whatever. You should take your first ACT summer between 8th and 9th grade. I took mine at UL. I think it's good practice. You're probably not going to get the score you want the first time, but it's good to see what you need to work on. If you like paper or computer more, take a paper one, take a computer one, see which one you want to try to better score, because there's different study methods for each type of test you can do. So they have prep guides for LPSS, SS offers ACT prep guides and free counseling. But the only thing is you have to have taken the test before, because they get sent breakdowns of what your score was, let's say for example you get a 20 on math, it will show 30% on geometry. Oh no, you need to work on geometry. And 100% on algebra 1. So you know you did good on that part. So it shows exactly what parts you need to work on. They have vouchers that you can get if you're in 11th or 12th grade, depending on what school you go to. Who's going to Lafayette High? Anyone's going to Lafayette High? Or logo? Okay, so, you already know this, probably. But basically, in the Google Classroom, they post hey, email us what tests you want to take and when you want to take it, and they pay for it for you, and they send you a code that you apply at checkout. But some other schools might do it differently, and they might give it to you off the bat. For tops, that's the different levels. You get more money the higher it is, and that's a composite score. So you want to get I don't know. The first time I took it, or no, one of the first times I took it maybe 5 times, but in 8th grade I had a 17 in 8th grade, and then I think I basically jumped the levels. Every time I took it. So I had 17, then a 22, then a 25, then a 28, and then a 34. So, it gets better with time, because you learn how to pace yourself and stuff. And that's the scores for this year. They change sometimes. And they have tests in September, October, December, and February. And in March, those are all paid, by the way, but the one in March is the one that you have to take. At least on Lafayette, you cannot get out of it. If you, I'm gonna be honest, even if you have a good score, y'all, please email the teacher if you're not gonna show up, because they will make us wait there for an hour and be oh, so needs to show up, so needs to show up. They want everyone to take it. It's if you don't plan to take it, I'm not taking it again. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna take it. But if you're not planning to take it, let the teacher know so they don't wait on you, because I don't know, it's kind of annoying. and it like makes you mad before the test. I don't know, at least me personally. Anyway, you can prepare by like getting books from like the library or like asking your friend to borrow them. I already gave mine all the way, so sorry. But the library will have some LPSS. That's where I got my books from. That counseling lady, when she came to work with me from LPSS, she gave me like some prep books to work on. And they have, y'all schools use Clever. Yeah, they have Mastery Prep, like you could take that. And ACT Prep apps. And then, yeah, so you can't use the Super Score for TOPS, which is basically, so let's say I got like a 22 and like a 30. Like the average would probably be like a 26. You cannot use that 26. Like, oh wait, no, that's, you ain't want to use the lower number anyway. I'm trying to do a different thing. So let's say I got a 36 in math, whatever, I don't remember. But a 36 in math, and then the next time I get, or actually 35, and the next time I get a 32. A 34 is your super score. That's going to show your highest from every test. Or no, your highest out of all the tests. But you cannot use that. Like, you need to get all your high scores on one test. Like, you can't do like, you can't focus, oh, I did good in math on this one. So don't focus on one subject for each test. You need to focus on all the subjects because it's every score, all four, for one. Like, you can't pull. Yeah, and scholarships do have deadlines, so y'all need to make sure y'all check those deadlines. And then some colleges, you just need to like keep track of which ones will accept scores like later than others. Like they were showing like Common App and stuff. And yeah. Does anyone have any questions? No. Okay. Then Delvin's gonna talk about scholarships with his mother, and he's gonna present information about that. And he's a graduate from Southside.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. And my husband is going to key me up, or key us up, I should say.
And just by way of introduction, Delvin is a recent graduate of Southside High School. He will be an incoming freshman this fall at Southern University.
Chantel is there. Okay, can you guys see that okay in the back? Okay. Good. So good evening to everyone. I like to open every presentation. I usually pray to myself, but I find it's befitting that I just say a little prayer to open us up. And our Heavenly Father, we just want to recognize you as being the one and true living God. We want to thank you so much, Heavenly Father, for every single thing that you have done. Oh, Heavenly Father, it is my prayer that everyone will receive information that will be helpful to them, and that you bless everybody in the mighty name of Jesus that is here, that they're able to receive scholarship opportunities, that they're able to increase their ACT scores, that these children will be able to identify what it is that they want to do with their life. Oh, Heavenly Father, you give them means and opportunities, but most importantly, give them the support of the village, and we are part of their village. And in the mighty name of Jesus, I say thank you for every single thing. Amen. Okay, so most of you guys know me. I'm Dr. Latanya Miller Harrison, and today I'll be presenting with Delvin 1 and Delvin 2. We have 3 points for you. We get that from our pastor. So today it is my hope and my prayer that you guys will learn how to prepare and apply strategically. I'm sorry, it's not I'm used to presenting alone. So our 3 points, we're going to learn how to prepare and apply strategically. So this is going to include what scholarships to apply for, what's required as far as GPA? Acts of service is actually a requirement. Essays, how to write standout applications, planning early is key. Declaring a major and staying organized so that you can increase your chances. Next, we're going to learn where to find the right scholarships. You're going to discover how to locate scholarships throughout universities, departments, HBCUs, databases. Plus, you're going to learn the difference between school-specific awards and those that can be used anywhere. And then finally, we want you to learn how to maximize and maintain the awards. It's great to be able to receive the money, but how do you keep the money? Because it comes with management after you receive the scholarships. Okay. And so, we'll start with learning how to prepare and apply strategically. And so I'm going to give you guys some pointers. I want to just put this disclaimer out there. By no means am I an expert. I'm not an expert at all. However, over this past year, we started actually his junior year. And more specifically, we got in detail this past year. So I'm just coming to you. We're coming to you just from parents, a parent's perspective. We were very blessed. Delvin has a significant amount of money in scholarships. And even as of last week, he had $4,500 to his total. And so his total now is over $200,000. So we have just made it. Yeah, I say that in the most humble way, because we have been blessed. And so that's why it's very important for me to impart the knowledge on you guys, the methods that we had, and you take that, manage that with the methods that you may have, but to make sure you get from someone else. And it's my hope and prayer that you guys can say the same thing and do the same thing, pass that information on. It's very important. And then Delvin's going to tell you from his perspective. The other thing that I want to say is we're here as a united front, as a family, because it literally took a family effort for us to be able to do this. Parents, guardians, I will say to you, please don't leave your children alone. They're going to really need your hand holding throughout this process, because even for me, some of those applications were tedious. I will be completely 100% upfront with you. I did the majority of Delvin's applications because my thought was, here's an opportunity for his dad and I not to have to pay for school. It was too important for me to leave that for him to do. Did I think he was capable? Most definitely. But I felt like he had a senior year going on. That's a change. He was active in sports, band. Plus, he had to keep up his schoolwork. I felt it was my responsibility as his parent to manage that, and so we did. We worked together as a team. It's akin to a full-time, I should say a part-time job. And sometimes it felt like a full-time job, because literally I would get off from work, I would go to my part-time job, and then I would apply for scholarships. Literally, I did this over an entire year. On the weekends, sometimes he was tired, he wanted to go do other things. No, we're going to sit here and we're going to apply. We're going to apply. I taught my husband, gave him a script, gave him scholarships. This is what you're going to do. And so we did. And praises be to God, it was beneficial to our family. So it takes a team, it's going to take time, it's going to take effort. You will get frustrated because it is a lot in addition to everything else that you have to do. But prayerfully, it will pay off. So the prerequisites for a scholarship: academic achievement, community service and leadership, resume and portfolio preparation, letters of recommendation, proof of college application and acceptance. Starting with the academic achievement, GPA and test scores. What we will learn in this world, and students, you will learn two things matter: relationships and numbers. Relationships and numbers. We all have a relationship with God, right? Numbers matter. If you go to the doctor's office, numbers matter. If their cholesterol is high or low, if their blood pressure is high or low, numbers matter. And so, unfortunately, your GPA does matter. But here's what I want you to know. Yes, he was a 4.3 student, but we just recently learned 2 weeks ago that you can receive a full ride at Southern University with a 3.0. You can receive a partial with a 2.8 GPA. Also, in the process of applying for scholarships, we saw scholarships that students with a GPA starting at 2.0. So scholarships can range from the GPA being the lowest, a 2.0, all the way up to your 4.0s and higher. How do you get a full ride if you have a 2.0 GPA? You're gonna stack those scholarships. So that's where the work comes in. You're gonna have to apply, so that you're able to stack. If you're able to stack, then you can too have a full ride. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. But the GPA matters. So students, if you're entering into your senior year, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of fun things that you need to do, but you have to start looking at the big picture, looking at your future. What you do now counts. What you do matters. Those of you, and Devin's gonna talk about it a little bit later. If you're in the 8th grade, going into your freshman year, that's when those numbers are going to start to count. The classes that you choose are going to count. Your numbers matter. Numbers matter. Okay? So that goes as far as GPA and your test scores with the ACT. Now, at Southern University, and yes, I'm going to reference Southern because I matriculated through that system 3 times. So I believe blue and gold, but it's what I know. And so I'm just drawing from a point of reference of what I know. And what I love about my HBCUs is those schools meet us where we are. They meet you where you are. For instance, I learned most recently, Southern now has, you can get into school without having an ACT score at all and having a minimum of a 2.0 GPA. But here's where the ACT score counts. If you want the money, then you have to have an ACT score, and it has to be a respectable score. I think the lowest to be able to receive any type of money from Southern is it an 18? It's an 18. But guess what? Let's say you don't have that ACT score of an 18, but you still have the desire to go to school, but you got that 2.0, you can get into school, and there is no shame if you have to take out student loans. You do what you have to do to get through. You have to get back. My husband and I had to take out student loans. That's why it was so important for us that he did not, so that he can come out of school debt free. So there is no shame in that. If that's what you have to do, then God's going to provide a way. Just as he provided a way for all 185,000 of my student loans, they were all forgiven. Praises be to God. So God will provide a way. You do what you have to do to get in, and you pray to God. If God will provide a way, he'll always provide a way. So you do your work and let God worry about the rest if you have to take out student loans. Okay? So the next thing, community service and leadership. For every application that we submitted, you had to submit a letter of community service, and you're gonna need someone that's gonna be able to write that letter for you. So that means if you have not already been volunteering, then you need to start volunteering. Your church is a good place to volunteer. You need to be able to volunteer on campus because, again, you're gonna have to have this letter to be able to support that application. And they want to know about your leadership skills. Delvin had to create, you're going to have to create a resume or a portfolio. If you don't know what a portfolio is, that's just a record of different works that you've done, things of achievement. And and in some cases, you're going to have that resume. On that resume, they're not just looking at work experience, because guess what? You're in high school, you may not have a whole lot of work experience. The top things that they were looking at, what were his leadership roles? How active was he? There was even a scholarship that he received that was just based on him and his activity in church alone. That was the 7th District scholarship that he was awarded. He had to receive a letter from his pastor. So again, those relationships, all of that matters. Letters of recommendation. You're gonna need a letter of recommendation from your teacher. In some cases, you needed, was it 3 that you had to have? So he needed, for some applications, 3. This is what you're gonna do when you give your letters of recommendation. Go to a particular teacher that you feel comfortable asking. You're gonna ask them if they could submit you a letter of recommendation, but what you also want them to do is 1 or 2 things. Either make it generic where there's no date on it, because you're gonna need that same letter to be able to use for the multiple applications that you apply for, or you ask them, are you willing, I plan on applying a lot, are you willing to provide me with a letter that doesn't have a date on it so that I can reuse it? Or are you willing to write this letter every single time? In some cases, we were very blessed. Like Pastor Chad was one of Delvin's references. He gave us a standard letter that we could use, a PDF. Miss Michelle Blackman, she was a little bit different. She gave us a Word document and she gave me permission, and you have to have permission. She said you can change the date and you can change the reference the subject line each time you need to, because sometimes it has to be specific to that particular organization that you're writing for. Again, these are not things that you want to do on your own. You want to ask if you have permission to be able to do these things. And some people may say no, and that's okay. But if they're willing to continue to give you that letter, you can. So I said that to say, keep in mind who you want to ask for your letters. So the letters that you're going to need at least 3 from teachers. You're going to need 1 from to demonstrate your community service. And I think those are just about all the type of letters that you need. Now, proof of college application and acceptance. I'm going to talk about the deadline a little bit later, but one of the ways that we were able to get one of his full rides was by applying early. The deadline to apply should be September the 30th. I'm going to go into more detail about that. But because we were able to provide for them, so we applied in December of last year. That was the senior year. Remember, they start school in August. By December, we applied for one of these that was November that we applied. One of the requirements for that application was, can you provide proof of acceptance into a school? Most kids have not applied to school yet. Miss Michelle Blackman was a true resource for us. She told us you need to have everything applied for by the end of September. I listened to her. We applied to all of his top 5 schools by the end of September. That scholarship that came up that so happened to be his full ride later on, the one requirement was, do you have that letter of acceptance? Had we not applied, we wouldn't have had that letter of acceptance. We wouldn't have been able to apply for that because that was a deadline that was due at the end of November. So that's information that I was not privy to prior to, so I want to make sure that I pass that on. And I think that's it. Did you have something you want to add?
Another thing, students, like, when you apply early, they're more likely to consider and actually read your stuff, because when you do regular admissions or late admissions, they're just flying through a bunch of students, so you're a number, not like a person. So the earlier you apply, the more likely you're to be actually looked at. They'll check your resume and things like that, and it's a faster turnaround between a yes or a no, so you can have the option to look at other schools. Other thing with community service and leadership, you don't have to do it through your school. The church, the community outreach center, that's easy. Just go wake up 9 o'clock at Saturday, and then you just help them, and they'll sign off for you, and that helps a lot with community service. And you can also look it up, places around that help you out. Your resume and portfolio, basically what they told us at Southside is you want to start that your freshman year, but it's okay if you didn't, because I didn't start my freshman year. I actually didn't start until my junior year. But the only problem with that is it was a lot of recollecting based off of straight memory. But if you write it down and stuff, then it'll be easier for you to fill that out once you make it. And also too, you can use Canva. They have templates already, so you don't have to worry about how do I make it look right. You just plug in all your information in Canva, and that'll be good. And for your letters of recommendation, like she said, if you can get a general one, most teachers, all mine that I asked said yes, and most of them gave me a general one. So it's just you can use it for all your different scholarships and stuff. And I know for Southside, you can't just go into the counselor's office. You got to fill out that form. But I'm gonna keep it 100. I was in there every week. actually, no, like 2 times a week. And so it was, once you do that, like if you're going 2 times a week, literally she'll just say, can you stop by like lunch or like IF or something like that? And you'll just walk in, or like if she forgets, you just tell her, she'll probably know your name by then, and then she just has it already, literally like, by the second week of doing it, she was able to just, I was walking in her office, she'll press a button, she has like the whole packet, and she got this seal of approval in like 5 minutes. And yeah. Also, another thing I meant to mention is, so like let's say you don't have the GPA or the test scores and for scholarships, I know like when I went to like orientation at something, they said like maybe if you didn't score as high but you got accepted, you still can apply later, like once you get into college and stuff, and they'll still give you the scholarship, and the ACT component of it is completely wiped out, and so you'll basically have started on a clean slate just strictly based off your college grades.
Oh, and one other thing I want to say, you can't just do community service one time. It has to be an ongoing thing for months, not just a one-time occurrence. Plus, keep a relationship open with those that you're asking for letters for. You don't want it to seem like you're just using them for letters. We felt comfortable going to Pastor Chad and Miss Michelle and teachers because they knew him and they've known him for years. So you want to make sure that those relationships and you build that rapport. So the next thing that, a timeline, when to apply for scholarships and college applications. So your junior year, these are the things that you should be doing. You should be taking your junior on college tours. You want to, as best as you can, introduce them to various colleges so that they're able to make an informed decision about where they want to go. You also want to be able to connect, if you can, to, if your student is interested in engineering, to those specific engineering departments so that individuals, representatives from that school, can talk to them, can guide them, can tell them what's going on within that particular department. So you want to do that. Also, junior year, you should be discussing majors with your juniors. You should be meeting with departments, I said that. And then you should be researching careers. Also, if you don't already have a mentor, you should be looking for mentors that are within that specific field that you may be interested in. Senior year, here's the most important thing. By the time your senior year comes, I mentioned September 30th. Guys, if I cannot express anything else, you need to apply to all of these schools by September 30th. That was the game changer for us. Also, you need to be the top 5. Your student doesn't need to apply to 10 different schools. Your top 5. I would even say, to narrow down a little bit more, the top 3 to 5 schools that they're interested in. That's enough, because you're going to overwhelm them. But the top 5, that's just my opinion. And then the next thing, narrowing down your major. By your senior year, if you don't know your major, you should at least have 2 strong possibilities, because it's going to count when you're searching for money. It's going to count. And we're going to talk about that a little further. Also, let's see, early admission is important, and I talked about that because, again, that's one thing that for those, if you want the full rise and the major money, that's just one component that they look for to see if you have that acceptance letter ahead of time, because that signals a couple of things to departments. One, if you have an acceptance letter already, that means that you're a serious student and you've handled your business prior to being a senior. Because if you get accepted, that means that chances are you have that higher GPA, you have that ACT score that you need, and so that signals to them this is a person that's more than likely than not to matriculate through. Now, if you don't, that doesn't mean that you will not, but then that still shows them that you're serious and you're interested. That gives you an opportunity as well, because some schools do provisional and they do conditional, and that's where you have conversations. You go to that particular department if you're interested in nursing, but you don't quite have the GPA or the ACT score. You call them and say, hey, my student is applying in September. He's very serious about coming in the Department of Nursing, but here's where we're falling short. what can we do to get where we need to be? What can we do when we get on that campus? What assistance do you provide? You have to talk, you have to engage. You advocate for your student because nobody else will. And then another thing that I was going to say is that you should be looking at early admission. I know when he applied for Tulane, the majority of their money was linked to those that applied early. And he did get accepted, but Tulane wasn't coming with a whole lot of money. And so we needed to go where the money was. Also, this other disclaimer that I like to put out there, I love my HBCU, but anybody that's attended HBCU, you have to be patient with them because the systems are different. Because at HBCUs, we're required and expected to do the same things, but with this. At a predominantly white school, they have the means, they have the technology, and so things might go a little bit faster and better for them. But the difference is, at an HBCU, I guarantee you, they're gonna meet your student where they are. And so, regular and late can correlate with funding amounts. So if you're thinking about your Tulanes and things like that, you'll see they have various times that you can apply. If you apply early, that's into more money. If you wait and you apply at their regular admission, then that decreases the amount of money that they're willing to give. And again, I can only speak from the schools that we're familiar with and that he applied to, and so that's just a little FYI. And then with national due dates, so we found again, like with some of the national scholarships, and I'm gonna provide you a handout and work with that, their deadlines are sooner than later. Some of them as early as I said, November. And then within the state, I saw some as early as December. We'll talk about that a little bit later too when it comes to foundations from school. And then local scholarships, usually they start rolling out about January or February. Okay, and then don't forget that for July, the deadline for this year for your FOSTA, for next year for, what is that, 26, 27, the deadline is October. I mean, the application will open up October 1 of this year. I'm sorry, yes.
Also, I know, like, the day that FAFSA opens is the day you should apply, because they take multiple days to, like, go through your stuff, and you do not want to wait for FAFSA, especially if you're going through a school in-state, because maybe if you do qualify for TOPS, and you wait too late, and they don't register it in enough time, then your TOPS money won't hit. And also too, that also allows you for student loans, so like maybe if you don't have the GPA or whatever to get into college debt-free, then if you miss that, then now you're kind of like stuck because you're not in like the federal system to get a student loan. And so now you have to not only get a loan, find a place to get a loan, and it's a whole lot of trouble. About the junior and senior year stuff, that she touched on that pretty well. About your majors and stuff, I actually ended up switching my major my junior year because I wanted to do electrical engineering. But then I found out what I love to do, I had to end up switching my major to become mechanical engineering. So basically, like for your major, you don't have to have a concrete, basically you need to know what you want to do, what you dream of, so don't dream little because your major is something that's not, it doesn't sound big or grand. Just stick to that major, and then once you get through it, matriculate through whatever you have to do to get to where you want to be. But you do have to make sure that your major correlates to what something you're going to be happy with doing for the rest of your life, not something that will just get you by, because who wants to go to work and not enjoy what they're doing? It kind of sucks. But so don't be afraid. And also too, I noticed if you put a major down when you apply for a college, you always have the option to change it in college. So it's not let's say you get into college and that's something oh, I don't really like this anymore, you can still change your major. The only downside to that is if you get like a scholarship, like we're gonna talk about that later, if you get a scholarship strictly like correlating with that major, then you will lose out on that money, but like some of the other money, like if the school funded and through the school, you'll still have that money and things like that.
And then next, there are 4 points to how to write a standout application and essay. Step 1, there are common prompts on how to answer them. So a lot of your applications will ask some of the same questions. What we did is we started with one essay. I allowed him to write it, put your thoughts down, and then I personally took that essay and I edited it to make sure that it was up to par. And you're gonna wanna do that for your student. And then literally that essay probably turned into 20 plus other additional essays. Because some of the scholarships will ask for different things, but you can use that one primary as your basis and then you build from there. Save every single thing, make sure that you're organized as far as everything is in a folder on my computer dedicated to Delvin Scholarship. We have an essay component, because you're gonna need to go and you're gonna need to draw from that. Do not use ChatGPT, and the reason that I say that, some of the scholarships put a disclaimer, they run it through a system, and it automatically disqualifies you. Also, your essays that you may have to write to get into school. I know that the schools that he applied for, they will run that through the system, and then they won't even accept you. So I know that kids like to use that. That is not a good tool to use at all, because guess what? If ChatGPT gives you a disclaimer that some of the information is wrong, and some of it is, and I've read things that came out of that, the grammar is wrong, and if you don't know those skills for yourself and you're submitting that, and you're submitting that to somebody that's seasoned, that's old school, that knows to look for the grammatical errors, they're gonna instantly see that, and that's not a good look for you. So do the work for yourself, learn the skills for yourself. Do not rely on that. That's not a good tool to rely on. And so don't do that for your essays. I would highly discourage you guys not to do that. It's not a good tool to use. You're gonna have to do the work for yourself. Standing out, your voice, authenticity, and clarity. And so you can have your own flair to your writing. It's okay if your personality stands out. That's what they actually prefer. They don't want just this basic standard script. They want your personality and your tone to shine through it. Again, I talked about reusing and tailoring the essays. You start with one good essay, you're gonna build from that. And the editing tips. There is called Grammarly. Grammarly is something, you can get a free version or you can get the paid version. With Grammarly, you can upload that essay there. It will give you corrections. The premium version gives you all of the corrections. That's a tool that can be used because it's not going to plagiarize information. It's not like your ChatGPT. That's actually plagiarism. You don't want to do that. This is going to tell you, okay, so this is incorrect and this is why. So Grammarly, that's a great one to use. And then we're gonna.
Also, too, with your essays, you like what I did. For example, when we were writing to Tulane for my essays, they're not long essays. They're only like 250 words, most of them. Some of them, but they're usually like a good like 3 paragraphs. So if you can't write a 3-paragraph essay, you might have a problem. But usually, like you can just read. Like they had something about their alma mater, and we just used that for most of our scholarships, and then it added like a personal touch that most people didn't really like think to use. So that can be very helpful.
I want to clean that up a little bit. If you cannot write a 3-paragraph, ask for help so that you can learn how, because writing is key. That means you might have a problem, but if you ask for help, you will no longer have that problem. And parents, you help them. So don't be discouraged by that. You can do it. All right. You have my number. Okay, so apply early. The early bird gets the worm. I've already talked about that. The only thing that I did not touch on is rolling admissions versus regular decision. So with rolling admissions, make sure you're paying attention when you're applying for schools and you're applying for scholarships. Rolling just simply means that these applications are reviewed on a continuous basis, whereas the regular admissions, they have hard, specific deadlines. And he's absolutely correct. My mentors are all professors, and they sat on boards. The earlier you apply, they actually do sit down and they go through your stuff. The later you apply, they're looking for qualifications at that point to see if you meet. If you don't meet, they're throwing them out, they're moving on. But if you apply early, they take the time, especially if you're a student that maybe has struggled and you need to come up. You want them to take the time to read your stuff, then you want to follow up with calls, and that's how you're able to have the conversations and get opportunities. But if you wait till the deadline, think about how many people are applying at that particular time, and the easiest way to get through that is looking to see who meets the minimum eligibility requirements. If not, they dismiss it and they throw it out. So just a little tip. Yeah, no, you don't have to commit to them. For instance, LA Tech was courting him hard, and LA Tech came with the most money. And at one time, even though he wanted to go to Southern, I wanted him to go to Southern, but LA Tech was coming with the money in engineering. I told him, you're gonna have to go where the money is. And so he didn't commit to them. He got accepted, told him we were interested in the scholarship. What happens is, Southside actually told us this. So whatever schools you apply for, you get accepted into the one by April, when you know for sure where you're going, then you simply just type an email to them, thanking them for the opportunity, and letting them know that you're no longer interested and you're withdrawing your interest. What that does is it's twofold. You let them know so that that money can be released to go to somebody else, but then if you ever have to backtrack, you follow up and you handle your business professionally. Good question. All right, and so I'm almost done with our slides. We have just a few more to go through, and then I'll open it up for questions. Declaring a major and its impact on scholarships. The importance of choosing a major, how major selection affects scholarship eligibility, flexibility in declaring undecided, STEM, arts, business, education majors, common award areas. So let's start from the bottom up. These STEM awards, if your student is interested in anything in STEM, there is buku money out there. Money, more money than you could even imagine. So think about that, Flexibility in declaring undecided. When you declare undecided, you cut yourself short in a lot of ways, because then you can't apply for specific funding. So I would really caution about declaring undecided, because they're going to ask you what your major is. Even if you're not 100% for sure, put down that 1 or 2. We met with the Dean of the Agriculture Department at Southern 2 weeks ago, and one thing that I liked about what he said was, in their department, your first year, you're going to take classes pretty much that summarize the entire program, an introduction to the entire program that they have. And so based on you taking these basic prereq classes, then you're able to get a feel of it and see what it is that you're interested in, pick your major then, and then you move forward and you can matriculate the rest of the years. Another thing that Delvin touched on too, there are scholarship opportunities once you get into school. Also at Southern, if you, let's say you get in, you don't receive any scholarships that freshman year because you didn't meet the ACT requirements. Starting your sophomore year, that requirement goes out of the door. Whatever your GPA is at that school, that then makes you eligible for scholarships, and you can apply for scholarships and get money from your sophomore year on. So that's something that you guys need to keep in mind. How major selection affects scholarship eligibility. Because he knew he was going into engineering, we were able to target STEM money. We were able to target the engineering department at Southern. We were able to target several engineering, and that's where the majority of his money came from. We learned about his primary funder, the major funder, it's called SEAS, Southern University Engineering Alumni Society. And so that's all of these individuals that fund this particular scholarship all graduated from Southern in the engineering department. They pulled together, they work across the country in various engineering industries. They pulled their money together and then they were able to receive sponsorships from their various entities, and they offer 2 scholarships, a partial, which is the majority, and a full ride. Now that is based on your ACT score and your GPA, but it was something that I didn't know about. We learned about that once he went to receive his honors acceptance. So November was when he received the honors acceptance. In November, because we had applied, he was able to go to the ceremony, receive his honors college acceptance, learn about additional scholarships there that they recommended him for, and that's where all of his money came from. Then on top of that, he was able to apply to the specific engineering department at Southern. He got money from there. Also, because he knew he was going to Southern, he was able to apply for the foundation. Southern University has a foundation. He applied for that money. That was literally 20 different applications that I had to do for that one foundation. It paid off. We were able to get $2,500 from them, able to stack those scholarships. Then because of that, he was able to receive the Southern University, the local scholarship. He got that. So again, it matters if you know where you're going and what your major is. Okay? Where to find the right scholarships, institutional scholarships, what they are and how to find them. I just basically spoke about that. Honors college scholarships. All colleges that we apply to, and the majority of colleges, they all have an honors program. If your student, it depends, I think the minimum GPA, it depends on the school, is the 23 for the ACT score, but I think the GPA is like a 3.3 or something, or 3.5. But if your student is around there for ACT score and their GPA, look into that school's honors program. The honors programs, those are good programs to be a part of. You're able to get additional money that way as well. Plus, they link you to other scholarships. We talked about the departmental scholarships. That's across the board. You know, music is a funded one. Most of your health sciences, engineering, education, the arts is an array. Need-based versus merit-based awards. Now, there will be some scholarships that are merit-based. Those are ones that require the certain ACT score and a certain GPA. And then there are some need-based, that's based on your income, your family income. Some even go as far as asking for your W-2s. We didn't apply for those because we felt like it was basically pointless. So we didn't apply for those, but we did apply for everything that we could as far as merit-based and those that didn't require any of those. Okay, Delvin.
So, like, when you get to like your senior year, you're gonna start noticing on your feeds and like Instagram and social media and stuff that they're gonna start pushing you a lot of like scholarships and stuff. So like, start following the universities you're interested in, because they post scholarship opportunities, like different organizations you might be interested in joining, and scholarship platforms, like good ones are like Scholarship Alert. And if you want to attend the HBCU scholarships, because they give you like targeted scholarships to like those schools or like a HBCU and things of that nature, and you can apply for them, and then a lot of them can even lead to full rides and things like that.
And it's a good way to find hidden opportunities. I literally followed every single thing that I could. Miss Chantel would send me things from Instagram, Facebook, so that social media worked for you. Okay, and scholarship types, universal versus restricted. Scholarships that follow the student, so those are that scholarships that can be used anywhere. A lot of his scholarships are linked to Southern. So if he decides to go anywhere else, he's going to lose that money. So that as self-explanatory about scholarships that are tied to specific universities. Local and community-based versus national level scholarships. So your national level scholarships are those like your beta scholarships, your veteran scholarships. There's a plethora. I'm going to give you a handout, and it's going to give you, if you subscribe to this one particular entity, then every month they're going to send you a newsletter about the various national scholarships that come up. There are some scholarships that are linked just for African American students. There are some that are linked for Native Americans, some that are for females, they're tied to specific demographics. They're tied to if you're interested in culinary, if you're interested in education, I mean just the various things. Apply, 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 apply. And these scholarships and the information that I'm going to pass around, can you do that please? Camille, can you pass this out for me? Just the first one. If you have students that are currently in school, that are in college, they can apply to these scholarships as well. That's another thing to keep in mind. You don't have to, scholarships don't stop applying after your freshman year. You want to continue to apply for scholarships throughout the entire time that you're in school so you can continue to have that funding. And private versus public funded scholarships. TOPS, that's a public funded scholarship. Private, or like your local scholarships, like from your sororities, from like law firms, just various local chapters, local organizations. Okay, and then I talked about this earlier, there is a lot of money for HBCUs, so you want to just kind of search that, HBCU scholarships. And then I talked about on that sheet that you're getting, that's just an example. I pulled the old one, it's the newsletter, but it has the information, the website for you and the name of the of the database for you to be able to use. So it's studentscholarships.org. That's the actual website, studentscholarships.org, but you should be able to find it on that paper. That's a good one. And so again, just various scholarships that are based on various needs. Okay, now, what happens once you have all of this money? It's a blessing that he has some of this money. Okay, but he has to be able to keep that money while he's in school. And so we're gonna address that. I wanna talk about stacking scholarships. Stacking scholarships is when you have multiple scholarships and there is no disclaimer or hidden message that says you cannot use multiple scholarships at one university. You want to make sure that you're looking for that when you're applying for scholarships. Every scholarship that he has, there is no disclaimer. He's able to use them all at Southern. Because he has the full ride and multiple scholarships, he's not going to be receiving money back in his pocket every single semester until he graduates. So that's what we mean by stacking your scholarships. And that's what you want to look for. So after all of your tuition, your housing, and everything is paid for, the rest of that money comes back to you. That's why it's important to apply for every single thing that you can, big or small. It doesn't matter. We apply for 300, we apply for 500, we apply for 100, because again, you can stack it. And so now when he's in school, not only is his tuition and everything paid for, now he's going to be paid to go to school, and all he has to do is concentrate on doing his schoolwork. He doesn't have to work. And so that's a blessing. That's why you want to get that money and stack your scholarships. Okay. All right. Again, I said, don't disqualify yourself. It doesn't matter. He applied to a banker scholarship. We applied for literally every single thing that he could apply for. Do not disqualify yourself. Apply, apply, apply. It doesn't matter how big or how small. Apply. And one way that we stay organized, I maintain a spreadsheet on my computer with all of his scholarships, because like I said, we have to maintain that money. With him receiving that money, he has appearances that he has to do, he has banquets that he has to go through, he has forums that he has to speak at, he has functions, workshops that he has to attend, he has to maintain a certain GPA, and then to most of these entities, at the end of the semester, he has to submit his grades, and his next course load, because they want to see that you're still going to school. They want to make sure that you're maintaining a certain number of hours, and that he has his GPA to keep this money coming. There are deadlines for that. The kid is going to be in school. That's going to be an adjustment. Parents, start your spreadsheet, list all of the scholarships, all of the money, when they're supposed to receive the money, how much they're supposed to receive, and your deadlines, so that you can either email them yourself this information or stay on your child about getting it done. I'm a helicopter mom. I will be emailing these people because I want to make sure that he keeps this money coming through. Okay, so, and he has, like I said, to maintain a certain GPA, annual renewal process, service or participation requirements. He still has to do that community service. And then one thing that we're teaching him is to keep in touch with those scholarship providers, because these are people that are going to connect you to interns and connect you to jobs when you're done. Okay. Can you pass out the scholarship checklist? I composed the scholarship checklist. I pray and I hope that I've not forgotten anything, that it'll help you. And I'm sorry, in my haste of trying to copy it at work, I didn't get a chance to staple it, but I wanted to use that copier. It's 3 pages, babe. So it's 2 pages, one to 3. Yeah. So make sure when you receive it, you should receive 2 sheets of paper. Yeah. Camille, it should be 2 sheets. Okay. So we're gonna thank SWLA for that paperwork. And then that's the checklist. And then finally, any questions? I think I have probably 2 minutes left. Any questions? And then I'm gonna pass this piece of paper around. If you're interested in receiving the slide deck, I can send it to you tonight. And just put your email address on this. Can you start this off?